Hi everyone, it's Maddie Brady. We're here to get real about mental health. Stay tuned for some great conversations with some very special guests. Hello, welcome to Get Real. We are here with Mario, the Italian horn. And we are here to get real on addiction, mental health, your personal story, and how you help so many people now, which is super inspiring and amazing.
Well, thank you, Maddie. It's good to be here. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a real honor. And I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
I love talking about recovery. I love talking about, I love talking. So this is perfect.
You came to the right place.
Yeah, it's very comfortable, and I'm at,
Yeah.
This is a good vibe right here.
Good. So I would love to learn more about your personal story, because I know today you go out and you help so many other people get sober and you give back that gift of sobriety. But what was it really like for yourself getting into addiction from what you remember?
Oh, man. It's been a wild ride. I started, my journey began, my addiction journey began when I was 12, 11 years old. I was just talking about this the other night, how much I hated middle school. And it was just the worst time of my life. I was just awkward and going through puberty at an early age. And I don't know, it's actually when I started to really withdraw for the first time. So, because before that, I was just happy-go-lucky, tons of energy, always outside, just happy all the time. And for some reason, around sixth grade, I started feeling different, very uncomfortable in my own skin. Actually, you hear that all the time, but it's true. And I just felt like an alien. And, that's when I started to find substances, and I realized very quickly that I can get out of myself and not feel these things. And, kind of like that magic elixir, or whatever you call it, right? I found weed and I found alcohol, and it just put all those anxieties at ease. So I was still the same person, but I wasn't in my head 24/7, thinking what you were thinking about me and what to say. It was very bizarre, because I just wasn't like that before.
Yeah. How old were you when you first started messing with substances?
I think I was 11.
Wow.
Yeah. I hung out with a lot of older people. My family is a lot older than me. Both my parents are from Italy, right off the boat. There's a huge age gap. I like to say I was the accident, but my mom would never admit that. But I have two older brothers and an older sister that there's 15 plus years of a gap. So I always wanted to be part of their party, and my cousins and everyone, drank and had fun and partied at family parties, or whatever, ball games or whatever it was, softball leagues and all that kind of stuff. And so I was always kind of the center of attention. I loved being that little, they used to call me the man child. So I took pride in kind of being the center of attention and being the nuts one. But yeah, I would say really was at a party, at a high school keg party in the woods. And I just got, I got super drunk, and I loved it. And I acted like a fool, and I couldn't barely get home. And, I remember walking in and my parents just looking at me right in my face, where they were pissed, because they were old school too, so they weren't having it.
Yeah.
And I just didn't even really care. I was just I need to go to the bathroom, I'm going to be sick. And that was it. And I knew that I'm going to do that again next weekend. It was no question. So
yeah. I feel like that's a major commonality, that feeling like you don't fit in, where I had the same feeling, but it was so confusing to me, because I had friends and I did fit in from the outside looking in, but my own personal feeling was that I wasn't truly fitting in. And I think it's the inner dialogue telling you, what are they thinking about me? Am I doing this right? Just constantly questioning everything, and just having that banter in your head all day long, I think gives you that feeling of, I always felt like I was on the outside looking in.
Oh, yeah.
Even though if you asked a teacher or anyone else in the classroom, they would say, of course she's included, of course she's in. I never felt like I was in, which is a weird feeling when you can't really put your finger on what exactly it is, especially at such a young age.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's literally the worst. Everyone's telling you, you know, on your report cards or your sports teams or your whatever. Like, even when I was older, you know, because I battled up and down for years from that age until about, you know, 20 something, 21. And I remember I've also had like about 1 million jobs.
Yeah.
My friends, you could ask my friends, like, I've done everything.
Me too.
Yeah, it was like I wanted to do everything and I would
Yeah.
do it and then I would quit, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember I was really into firefighting. I took the classes. I had, you know, a bunch of friends. We did it all together. Then we did the EMT thing. Like, it was really cool. I was like 19 or 20. And then I just hit this like really weird depressive state. And again, that negative self-talk came in. And I remember I just bailed. You know, my go-to was just to bail and no notice. You know, I just stopped showing up. And the teacher called me and she was like, what's wrong? Like, the test is coming up in like a week. And I was like, I'm out. I suck. You know, and like, that's how I truly felt. And she's like, you're killing it. And I'm like, no, like I suck. Like, it's over. And that was like a constant theme of like what you're saying. Like, everyone around me would be like, oh, you're doing great. And he's this or he's so this. And I'm like, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Can you think of anything that started that feeling, or do you feel like it just developed out of nowhere?
You know, that's a great question. Because I've always wondered that, right? Like, what's like the chicken or the egg? Is it the mental illness piece? Is it the addiction, you know, alcoholism piece, which really is mental illness?
Yeah.
You know, they're the same. But I think, you know, there's definitely, it's a mix.
Yeah.
You know, I think some of it is kind of family history, genetics, you know, which you don't really realize until you're older now and you start looking back and you're like, oh shit, there's a lot of there's some alcoholism, a little mental illness, you know, we just kind of swept it under the rug, you know? Yeah, because when I was growing up, there wasn't like, hey, you're going to therapy or hey, you're going to rehab. Like, the answer to everything was kind of just like push through. Yeah. You know, and like work. Like, you're either lazy or you work hard. Like, like that was the answer to everything. And I'm like, yo, I'm working hard, Dad. Like, I don't feel good still, you know? But yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think you're either kind of born with this thing or you're not. I think family, you know, development, like stuff you see at a young age, and nothing. That's the crazy thing, right? Like, nothing traumatic really happened to me. Where like you hear these really ultra traumatic events, but there still is like trauma, I believe, in everyone's life. So it could be like, I don't know the right names. I'm not like a doctor. Yeah. But there's definitely stuff, you know, that I heard growing up that not like we hate you. It was like I was very loved, but there was things I didn't hear that I think I needed. You know, so I had this message of like, I'm never good enough and like I'm always doing something wrong. And I just think my parents did the best they could. Yeah. You know, I don't think they knew what to do with me. I mean, I was a lot. Yeah. You know, so, you know, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to answer. I think it's a lot of different things that make up, you know, who I am and who we are in terms of like why we do what we do. You know, and I don't think we ever say, hey, I want to grow up and be a crackhead. You know, and that's the one thing I try to tell people, like when I'm talking publicly, like a lot of the public doesn't understand. You know, like they think that, and it's sad, you know, with the stigma, but they think this was like a choice. Yeah. And I'm trying to tell them, like, no, this was not a choice. Like, this was like survival, you know, and it's just kind of ended up where it was. And by the time you're there, you don't know how to get out and you don't know that there's, you know, an answer, you know, like a solution. So I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it definitely does. And when you started coming home and were drinking, were your parents giving you pushback? Like, where did it go from there? How did it spiral?
I think they just kind of, you know, again, they were a little older. They already had 3 kids that were grown and out of the house. So I was kind of in this spot where I became like the only child, where before I was used to having all these older brothers and almost like uncles and parents. Yeah. And it was the best. I got spoiled, you know, and they would take me to rock shows and buy me stuff and do things. But I think I was very mad that all of a sudden now I was alone with these like 2 older people that like I couldn't relate to. And they were from Italy, so it was like a big difference. And, you know, I think I just kind of did whatever I wanted, you know, to be honest with you, like to a certain degree, I just had no regard for authority. And it's not their fault. I just kind of like, if you would tell me to be home at 8, I'd be home at like 9, like 11. Yeah. or 10 or whatever. It's like I couldn't just listen and come home or
Yeah.
whatever it was. But, and it wasn't ever malicious. Like I have a great heart. I'm not like a bad person. I know that. But
Yeah.
I had a hard time following direction.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So,
I get that.
I'm sure yeah.
No, I do get that. So then moving forward, how did it get to the dark point? Like, where do you remember a time where the switch flipped, or like it just progressively getting worse, or was it a slow transition?
No. So my progression was really fast. Now that I'm working, that I'm in this field and I work with kids from 15 to, whatever age, I could have used treatment at 17. Like legit, like I should have been in a treatment center at 17 years old. I'd say like, the seventh grade, I was trying stuff, experimenting. Eighth grade started picking up, and then summer of eighth grade on was just like full blast. And it, the progression, the substances might have changed and looked different and got harder, but the way I used, the reason I used, the amount I used, it wasn't for fun.
Yeah.
It was to just get out of myself and get blacked out. Like I didn't have like a shut off or a slow down switch. So yeah, I'd say from like eighth grade summer going to, junior year. I mean, junior year I got kicked out of high school. I wasn't even basically there, and all I did was get drunk and high all day.
Wow.
But I needed help.
Yeah.
And I was like almost but again, no one really knew what to do with me.
Yeah. It's crazy looking back on that time period, like just getting kicked out of high school for that, instead of someone seeing a child essentially and going to help them and trying to get them into treatment. But I feel like nowadays people are more aware, but even like I'm 26 years old, even when I was younger, I feel like people weren't aware where they knew what to do. Teachers, guidance counselors, people in the school working with children didn't know these things and topics about addiction or different mental health issues. So that's crazy that they would just kick you out of school and just leave you out there.
Yeah, like thanks a lot, come back. And they were nice about it because
Yeah.
they knew my brother and sister and they had them before me years ago. And again, they knew like we were a good family and blah, 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 and all the things you hear about. But, that wasn't an answer. Like that didn't help me.
Yeah.
If anything, that made it worse. And then they did allow me to come back the next year and under like a strict contract. But the message it sent to me was like, again, I'm not good enough. Like I'm broken or something's wrong with me. And why can't I just be like, Joe Blow next door, or Johnny, Johnny Smith next door. Like he's got everything on the outside, right?
Yeah.
But I was constantly matching, trying to compare my insides to your outsides or something, like that whole thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Did you realize that you had a problem? Like, were you self-aware of it at all, or did you not know what was going on?
that's a great question. I mean, I don't know if it was a problem in my head. I kind of wore it as like a badge of honor. That like I was good at this thing.
Yeah.
Like I knew I was always good at sports before and making people laugh or music. I was really good at guitar. But this was like another thing that like, all right, Mario's really good at this. People like me. It's all about fitting in.
Yes.
And acceptance. So I just kind of figured like this was where I was supposed to be at that time with this crew, this crowd. But no, I was totally in. Like looking back now, it's like, oh my God, like you ever think about when you were younger and you're in high school and you thought of yourself a certain way, and how people perceived you, but then you get sober and you're like, oh man, like it was probably nothing like I thought, That's a scary thought. So I didn't really know, I kind of just thought like I ran with it, just that good feeling, and I just wanted more.
Yeah. I think at such a young age too, aside from the fact that the actual substance is giving you validation, but you're getting that external validation from your peers, because everyone's in high school. No one's sitting there thinking, oh, that guy's an alcoholic, he's an addict.
Right.
You're in high school, they're thinking, oh, he's a party animal, he's a life of the party.
Exactly.
And then you get drunk off of the feeling of being the life of the party and want to hang on to that.
100%.
So it's hard to identify when you're getting attention and you're getting these things that you sought after for so long that you're actually doing something negative.
Oh, 100%. I should have had an intervention, like, again, at 17.
Yeah.
But also the culture, right? Like, media and what I grew up on is like movies. That's all they did. It was glorify partying and drugs and cigarettes and, all that stuff. So to me, that looked like that was sexy,
Yeah.
So all I wanted to do, and it wasn't great. I shouldn't have been watching that stuff,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm watching Train Spotting. I'm watching Kids. I'm watching, what was that movie? I forget the name. It was a great movie where they're all in high school and Matthew McConaughey's in it. And that's all they do. They're listening to Kiss and they're partying, they have kegs and they're smoking weed. And
Yeah.
so we idolized all these films, on TV. So it was like, I can't wait to do that.
Yeah.
But they never showed you the part where you're homeless or you're, smoking crack or you're physically addicted to heroin or pills or opiates.
Yeah.
They never really show you that part.
Exactly. That's what, and I hear people too, well, you talked about the stigma of when people think, how does someone get to that point? And it's so easy for me to sit here and think, like, it all starts at the party.
Yeah.
It starts at the keg in the woods in high school, and then we lose touch with the people, or the outsiders that don't understand addiction lose touch with the people that then end up on the streets, then end up addicted to heroin or homeless and all of that. But those are the people you were partying with 10 years ago at the kegerator.
Yes.
But you think, how did they get there? That's how they got there. And it just continues to progress. And nobody, I truly believe nobody woke up and was like, I want to do heroin. I want to be a heroin addict. Nobody ever wants that. It starts with a little and then inches that way until it's too late.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember sitting there and everyone, I mean, you'll hear that story all the time where you're like, I was in the woods with like 3 friends, my best friends, we're super young. We like put our arms in the middle to make this pact, like we're going to drink, but we won't do coke and we'll never do, we'll do this, but we won't do anything with needles, or we'll do that. And we broke all 3 of us.
Oh, yeah.
Broke all those things. Not really by choice. It was just that progression. And we all struggled, if you look back, with mental illness, with, whatever, a slew of things that we just didn't feel comfortable in our own skin with who we are.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's tough. It's tough being a kid.
Yeah. Definitely.
It really is.
Yeah. Because everyone's doing it. So you're justifying it. Everyone's doing it.
Right.
And then before you know it, you're at a point where it's hard. Once you get to a point, it's hard to backtrack. I've never met anyone who could just scale back once they've crossed a certain line. Like I truly believe once your brain crosses a line, you can't just say, oh, I'll just have a little bit now, or I just won't try that drug. That it's right in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, listen, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, I wouldn't be going to meetings. I wouldn't be doing all these things and doing these daily, practices that I have to do to stay right, because I would be out there right now. I'd be having a couple.
Yeah.
I'd be smoking a joint. Like, listen, and from what I hear, there's a lot of good stuff out there, right?
Yeah.
But for me, and that's the other thing. I don't like, can't think of the word, but I'm not against it. I'm not like, oh, drugs are bad and like you can't drink. And I listen, like people, if you're doing all right and you can handle it, like that's always on them. But
yeah,
for me, I've tried every which way to Sunday to try to regulate this thing and try to, try to have this or try to not this or try to, and, I can't do it. I tried for 20, 30 years, whatever it is. So
that's my mindset around it too. Like, I'm friends with a ton of people that can drink and they're fine, but that's just not the case for me, and I know. And people always say, like, could you just have one, or what if you try this or that? And it's just not for me.
Right.
It's not. And that's what I think people have a really hard time understanding. And then the same people that think, oh, could you just have one, are then the people thinking like, oh, how did that person get on the side of the road and they're shooting up heroin every day? And they don't really understand that certain people cannot avoid that path if you are just cracking open that first drink.
Yeah, I think like this is exactly why I love, this, what you're doing. This kind of stuff, right? What we were doing right here is so vital to keep using our voice, to keep talking about, recovery, talking about addiction, talking, telling our stories. Because the fact of the matter is our stories have so much power. And the more we use our voice, the more that we can try to help break
Yeah.
that idea that this was a choice and, we're bad people and whatever, like we shouldn't get any help and all these crazy things that is definitely getting a lot better, over the last 10, 15 years, but it's not anywhere near where we need to be.
No, no, I still see comments where people are sharing their stories, people on bigger platforms, and then I go through the comments, and there's some that absolutely still shock me that certain people still believe a certain way about it. And it's not about, you're not going to change everyone's mind. Someone that thinks dead set like that, you're not going to change their mind. It's about helping the people feel less alone that want to get help and want to recover, helping people that want to be an ally or want to support the community, just giving them education to be able to support people in their lives that are struggling.
Oh yeah, all day.
Yeah.
If we can like reach, one person a day, right? We hear it all the time, but it's true. And it has worked. It's proven to work. Like anytime I've, been outspoken about my recovery, people from my past that are struggling, that are kind of, afraid, have DM'd me or texted me, or I always put my phone number up, or, so it does work. And we've helped
Yeah.
them get into treatment or whatever, even just to be an ally,
Yeah.
or a support system. But, yeah, I mean, this thing, I think that's part of my mission too, and my calling is just to kind of scream it from the rooftops, like till I leave this planet. Like,
Yeah.
this is who I am. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm actually proud of it. And, there's 25 million of us or whatever it is, like out there. So it's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. And that's why I love that mindset, to be proud of it, because that's something I struggled with in the beginning. Was I was ashamed of it, and I thought it was going to be this secret that followed me around my whole life, and now clearly it's not. But like, it is something to be proud of overcoming, and it is gratifying to go back and be able to help other people and just have other people get the message out there. But when did you start seeing like real ramifications of your actions? Like, when did you realize this is taking me in a bad direction?
Yeah. Oh, well, that, I think the first consequence where I was like, wow, something's wrong here was, 17. I did like way too many mushrooms for too long every day. And it went from like a serious, like super high for all the time to like the lowest I've ever felt. And like, I wanted to kill myself like daily,
Yeah.
and so I didn't know, kind of nurse myself back to health with my family and friends. And that's when I was like, all right. And this is the insidiousness of this disease, right? It's because my brain told me, all right, you just can't ever do mushrooms again. And that's crazy,
Yeah.
like insane thinking,
Yeah.
right? But I never did them again.
Yeah.
But I never said, oh, I might have a problem. Like I can do alcohol and whatever else, other drugs. So that was like the first one. And then it just got worse from there, really. I got into harder things. OxyContin, hit the streets massively, like flooded. And so that's when it really, I'd say with alcohol, I was drinking the whole time alcoholically, but alcohol and OxyContin really started to take me down at around 19, 20 years old. And then really, I mean, I went to treatment. I was 19, didn't hear anything. I thought it was a vacation. It was a really nice place. I was like, this is great. We're smoking cigarettes. We're eating nice food. It's like, because I never went to college,
Yeah.
or summer camp. So I'm like, oh, this is, you know what I mean, right?
It's a summer camp.
Yeah, like this is my college, like summer camp experience. Like, this is great, man.
Yeah.
These people are nice, and I'm telling them like what to do, how to get better. And I'm like Mr. Rehab, and I thought I'd learned. And I really thought I was kind of done. My family too. That was the other thing that's misleading sometimes. Like, just families just don't know. We didn't know what we didn't know. So we were like, all right, Mario goes to rehab once, he's fixed, and that's it. It's not the case. For me anyway. And some people, a lot of people are just one and done. But I got out and just got, actually absolutely worse. And I just wasn't ready though either. I was in denial. And the treatment center was great. And so then after that, 3 years later was when my story really began. Is I had a deadly, like a fatal overdose.
Wow.
From pretty much, I was on everything, but mostly oxys and alcohol. And, at that point, it had been like 2 years, a year and a half of just like wanting to, probably longer, of just really not wanting to wake up in the morning. Because every night I would like pray to just die, like, God, take me.
Yeah.
And I was just so stuck, I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't tell anyone, so only other people that knew were other people that were doing it with me. And so I was in a car. I was going to pick someone up at the airport from Connecticut to New York. And I never made it past like 2 cities over. I was in Stanford still. And so, I hit somebody, kept going. Finally, like, basically almost hit this house, and my car was all jacked up, smoking and whatever. Cops come. I still can't believe this, but they were really cool. They arrested me, but like not for really anything, like not DWI. It was just like a hit and run. I don't know how. They arrest me. I remember like vaguely, like, cause I was like in a blackout. I remember like giving them whatever money to get out, and immediately, and this is where it's really bad, is that I walked right to the bar. And if I'm not an alcoholic, and if that isn't alcoholism like 101, like that's first step all day for me, right? Oh man, I need a drink. Like I just went through some crazy stuff I did, hit a car, could have injured somebody and myself, got arrested. Most people would just kind of pack it up and go home.
Yeah.
But like, no, I can't stop. So first thought was I need a drink. So I walked to the bar with my backpack. And then from there, I don't really remember much. I was living with a friend, like on his floor. And if I wasn't with him, I would have not be here today. And so the story goes that I was like flopping around, and I was aspirating and overdosing on his floor. He woke up. They helped me, whatever, called another friend of ours. They got me to the hospital, or the ambulance came or whatever. And I woke up like 2 weeks later, I was in a coma.
Oh my gosh. And
so, I don't remember any of it. Like I do kind of remember a little bit of like an out of body experience where I was just like peaceful and like at ease for once. Like I was just like calm, because my life had been so bad for the last couple of years before that. And then I just remember freaking out, waking up and trying to pull all the tubes out and intubation and by like 3 days later when I started, I felt like absolute shit. I felt like crap. But I was ready to kind of go back out there and just like it never happened.
Oh my God.
And so the crazy thing is, like, the story, that my family told me was that they called my dad and said, it was like 3, 4 in the morning, and said, you got to come to the hospital. Like, we're going to say goodbye to your son. Now, I didn't know any of that. And so everyone thought I wasn't going to make it. And it was a miracle that I woke up. But I didn't go through any of that. So I'm waking up going like, what are you guys talking about? Like, what's the big deal? Like, I'm fine. And it was not the case. So a lot of, I definitely believe that there's something out there greater than me. There's definitely a God or a higher purpose, or the universe, whatever you want to call it. Because I woke up and all these events happened in the hospital that led me into recovery, which is not my normal, it's not really like my normal will, like my go-to. So I pick up the phone one day and I call my brother and I tell him myself, which is not my natural thing, right? You don't tell on your addiction.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know. And it wasn't me. I swear I grabbed the hospital phone and just called my brother and said, I got oxys at the house. Like, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I want to do them, but I need help. Now, I didn't want to get sober, but that's a sign to me. Like, that's some God shit I can't explain.
Yeah.
And then, so forth and so forth. And I ended up going to treatment, and like really going to treatment. And like, again, I wasn't all in. I really wasn't in at all. But I knew I had to do something just because of the way I saw my family, that they were distraught. Like, they were just looking at me just speechless because they didn't know what to do. And they thought they really had just lost me.
Yeah.
So that's when my real like recovery journey began, was like 2004, overdose, coma, pronounced dead. They said you flatlined or you blew, code blue or whatever it was.
Oh
And
my gosh.
then I ended up in Danbury, Connecticut, which I'd like barely been to. You know, didn't know anyone, and just kind of just followed the pack or whatever, followed the crew.
Yeah. Wow. When you said you had your out of body experience, that was when you were in the coma?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was wild because like it's not like it was like in the movies, you know, like when you see someone like kind of just falling into the ground or into themselves, but like I just remember just being at peace and just feeling like comfortable and like I was kind of happy with it because I had accepted that already, you know, at 20, I think I was 23 or 24. You know, all my rock stars, right? All my people that I'd looked up to had all died at like 27, 26, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up in that era of like the 27 club or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, that was kind of my goal. Like if I could make it to 25, 27 and just kind of die from like an overdose.
Wow.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's where the bar was for me, you know. There was like college dreams were over, job, forget it. I never had any goals. You don't even know what a goal was. I kind of would just work and just get high that day and just party and that's it. Like that was my life. I never really traveled or went anywhere outside of my area.
Yeah.
You know, so the bar was set so low at that point where death looked inviting.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, it was trippy. It was trippy, but I just remember feeling just like at ease. It's like, like finally just let me rest. And then they
Yeah.
woke me up again and I was pissed when they woke me up.
Wow.
I was mad at the dude that saved me,
Yeah.
who was like my best friend. I'm mad at my neighbor. I was just mad that I woke up.
Yeah. That happens a lot, right? When you Narcan somebody or somebody gets Narcan, that they come back very angry.
Yeah, people, you know, when someone's experienced an overdose, you know, the last thing they felt was very euphoric, you know, and they're high. I mean, it's probably the greatest feeling at the time, right? But then when you revive them and bring them back, they usually are pissed off. They can, because they don't know what's going on. They
Yeah.
don't know like where they are, who you are, like so. And you put them into immediate withdrawal with Narcan. So,
Yeah.
you know, mine was a little different. Like it wasn't like the Narcan today where you can just get it anywhere. Thank God we have Narcan now because
Yeah.
I have it everywhere. And you know, it's kind of like my big thing, Narcan.
Yeah.
Talking about that a lot and just educating people and you know, with my job at release, like. I've had to use it, you know, at least once or twice, but like you always have to have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, people can become very almost violent when you wake up, but you know, I mean, you just saved someone's life. You know, they're gonna thank you after.
Yeah.
You know.
In the end. But did they not have it back then? Narcan's fairly new then?
So they had it, but it wasn't as like the only people that had it. I think were professionals. So EMTs, hospitals, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they definitely like Narcan saved my life, but it wasn't like I had just woke up. Like I was in a coma.
Yeah.
So they said basically you're either going to be brain dead to my family, like he's either going to be like a vegetable or he's not going to wake up.
Yeah.
So it was like a 2-week process, I guess. So when I woke up, I was just kind of like, what the hell's going on? But I was freaking out because I felt like, I mean, you know, you have all these wires and tubes in you and catheter and, you know, your throat is intubated so you can't swallow. You don't know where you are. I feel like my arms are strapped down probably because I was bugging out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to rip everything out.
Yeah.
I'm freaking out. So, yeah, it was bizarre. But I was, I was like 23, 24 years old.
Wow. So then you call your brother, you tell on yourself, and then how long till you're actually sober?
Again, like these crazy events happened with the call. Then, you know, everyone was calling my hospital bed, like, we heard you died, like, what happened? Because no one really knew what I was doing. And then one thing led to another, and this, you know, my other childhood friend called me and said, call this guy. And his name, this is weird, I'm telling you, you can't make this up. Like, sometimes I don't believe it. He's like, call this guy, he helped my sister. And she was like the only heroin addict like we knew back then. Like, it wasn't like common. You know, there was like 2 people. Like, we knew one kid that died, and it was really sad because he was a great kid, we knew him. And then my friend John, his sister, and she got clean. But we still didn't really know. There was a lot of hush-hush around it.
Yeah.
So I call this guy. His name's, ready for this? Jonathan Welfare. I can't make this up. Maddie, it's crazy. And I remember getting his card or whatever, calling him, and I'm like, what's this guy gonna tell me? And
Yeah.
and he showed up like the next day, and it was like not a thing, like we didn't pay him, and he was from like this local community center in Norwalk called, like, I think it was called like the Community AIDS Project. So again, I'm just like, well, why is he here? Like, I don't think I have AIDS. I don't know this dude. Why would he want to help me?
Yeah.
What's it got to do with heroin and you know, oxy and overdosing?
Yeah.
And I don't know what he did, but he showed up the next morning, didn't know me from Adam, and whatever he said got me to go to treatment.
Wow.
like it still can't explain it.
Yeah. Someone you just met too.
Like, he didn't have to come there.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't paying him. He didn't know any of us. And this is what he did. I would love to get in touch with him if he's still around or if he's still alive. But
Yeah.
you know,
you have to find him.
I would love to, because I've always
Yeah.
wondered, like, and now I'm back in the area, so it's not like a big, you know, hard thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I never saw him again.
Wow.
It's almost
it sounds like
a-
an angel
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
Who was like one of my
Yeah.
first angels, you know. Obviously,
Wow.
my sister Lena is always, her and my brothers are like my angels,
Yeah.
over and over again, because this wasn't my first and last time. But this guy really, whatever he said, like, he wasn't selling anything, he wasn't talking bullshit, like, he just had this light about him and was just happy and was just like, I can basically show you another way of life. And if you don't want it, then it's all, you know, whatever he said just got me to be like, yo, this dude's cool. And like, I don't know why, but I trust him.
Yeah. That's what's so crazy about people giving back and people trying to help other people with sobriety, is that you can literally change somebody's life by one little thing you say. And that's why I try to have all different types of people on here, because the message is different with every single person. And you could hear it 100 times. I mean, for the most part, you hear it from your whole family, from your friends, from all these people you've loved your entire life. But then this random stranger shows up and changes your life.
You're 100%, Matt. Like, I always tell, that's a great point. I always tell people that I'm working with now, a lot of younger guys, any guys really, or girls, you know, whoever I'm working with. And, you know, not everyone's really like that, like, into getting sober at first, you know, like,
Yeah.
it sounds kind of weird,
Yeah.
you know, and then like it's a bunch of rules and not rules, but just people telling you like, you got to do this and you should do this. And it's a whole different way of life that you're just not used to,
Yeah.
you know, and it's scary. And, you know, I always tell people, like, don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle happens. Mm-hmm. But also, like, my number one thing is, like, you never know where you're going to hear what you need to hear. Mm-hmm. Like who it's going to come from, what it looks like. And that's, again, that happened to me about 6 months after this whole thing with the overdose and everything, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to meetings every day, sometimes going to 3 meetings a day. Like, we didn't, you know, doing whatever we can. Mm-hmm. And I'm picking stuff up here and there. I'm still on the fence. I didn't trust anyone. I made a fake name up. So I never told anyone my name. Like, I would introduce myself as Skippy, because my friends, I swear to God, like, and I was like, yeah, Skip. And, you know, people liked me, and we hung out, and we did the diner, we went skydiving, we went to concerts. Like, it was fun. But, like, I never was, like, bought in really yet. And then I go to a meeting, been there 100 times. I see this, like, really young looking kid at the front. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, I already judged. I'm like, what's this dude going to tell me? Like, I've heard 100 stories already. Mm-hmm. And that was the dude that changed my life.
Wow.
Like, to this day, still like one of my brothers for 20 years, that whatever he said that day, I heard and I connected, and I immediately, like, asked him to be my sponsor.
Wow.
And he was younger than me. He was from a different area. We have way different backgrounds. Mm-hmm. But whatever he said that day just clicked.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right. Like,
Yeah.
you just don't know. So that's why I was really taught, and what I try to teach others is to just say yes and just show up. Mm-hmm. Like, whatever it is, if it's positive, like, just show up. Mm-hmm. Because you don't know what it's going to turn into.
Yeah.
Like, even something like this today.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I always hope that we can reach at least one person out there. And I think your story is absolutely amazing. I mean, I've sat here and listened to 100 stories, and before starting the podcast, I've heard so many stories, but like, that is really hitting me even sitting here listening to it. So I think what you do is absolutely phenomenal. And do you think you decided to go back in and help other people because of those experiences with those men?
So not really, to be honest. It wasn't really a choice. Like after, I started getting some sober jobs and I'm like, again, I had done everything before that. I had done like 100 different jobs. So I never had a problem with that. So I was just getting other jobs. And I was like, all right, this is another job I'm going to get. Like I've done
Yeah.
this before. I'm going to Starbucks. I'm going to Best Buy. I'm going to do construction. Like I've done everything. So I just still didn't really have a purpose. My purpose was just kind of still surviving and learning and navigating this new path. And then really connecting with other people in these, community, like peer-to-peer groups, whether it be AA, NA, whatever, right? Started meeting a lot of really cool people that were like just fascinating, all walks of life. And that's when I think I started to like make more connections and learn and just kind of find my own way and my purpose. But really just getting inspired by others. So I knew I loved helping people and I would help people on a certain level. But the more I would like travel and be exposed to more things and, got exposed to advocacy, addiction advocacy, which was like a whole other world, where there's this thing I didn't know was going on, this national movement of people trying to make change. So that was one thing, and that really fired me up. And then I was always a big, big music fan. So I was like, how can I mix like music and recovery? So that was a path for that. And I started getting into that, which was cool. Like I started working with like my idols and like these rock stars that were like, I used to think they were all drug addicts, and all that, but now they're sober, which was great. So I'm like, oh man, this is inspiring. And I just kind of did a big dive into, once I get passionate about something. So yeah, that all kind of led me to helping people in different ways. And then I think just through all my experiences and all the many lives I've lived, brought me to where I am today, which is at Release Recovery, which is like I finally found a home.
Yeah.
It's been 4+ years and I couldn't hold a job for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's like I finally found something or we found each other kind of thing where I'm able to be me and use 100% of like my passion to help people, where I have the greatest job in the world. I get to bring young dudes, I get to bring them to concerts or festivals and get to bring them to meetings and, do touristy stuff. Like we drive them, I'll fly, like we do everything, but we get to show them that, recovery is fun and it's not like a death sentence, like it's actually just the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how I ended up, there's no like clear path. Kind of would just meet someone, and do that and do something. And then I went on tour for like almost 2 years with a musician in recovery.
Wow.
And that was like life changing,
Yeah.
So I feel like each step of the way and each thing I've done has prepped me to kind of where I am now. And so I'm able to use all these different tools and experiences to just kind of hopefully try to help a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love what Release does too. I always go to their Monday night runs, and I just feel like the community there must be absolutely amazing because every single person I meet from there, everyone's so welcoming and just is sharing their story so openly and always trying to help someone, always trying to feel the new person at the run, feel welcome. And it is just such a light giving community that I can't even imagine what it's like to work in it every single day.
I'm glad that you feel that love.
Yeah.
So I had worked in treatment briefly before this.
Yeah.
And treatment saved my life like 10 times. So I believe that treatment does work. But working in treatment is a different story.
Yeah.
It's not easy and it's not for everyone. So I had done a little work in treatment. I was kind of early in recovery one time doing it, and it was really hard. It was young kids, and it was hard. So I said, I'm out. Did like 6 months there. Then tried again, kind of kept pulling me back in. And, I'm pretty well connected. So, in the recovery scene. So they're like, oh, you'd be great at this. Wasn't my thing. So 2 times. So I'm like, then 3 times. I tried something else in Jersey one time. I was marketing for a treatment center and it just wasn't me.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, I'm all done with treatment, man. Like in terms of like working in treatment. And, years later, through people, I found out about release recovery. And I was resistant at first, and I went. And then the minute I walked through the door, so I had met Zach Clark and a couple guys just around the scene, and we really vibed, really connected. We both love Pearl Jam, like super fans, right? And we both love recovery, and we love people.
Yeah.
And so we started broing out a little bit, and I'm like, whoa, these dudes named their company after a Pearl Jam song? I don't know if a lot of people know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I was like, what's going on here? Like, I might have to just check this out, right?
Yeah,
like, at least
that's enough to join.
Like, it's like one of my favorite, probably like my top favorite songs. So I'm like, and it was just a whole cool story though, but I lost my dad in 2010.
Wow, I'm sorry.
And thank you. And I actually just got a huge tattoo, like a portrait of him. Aww. And, so that was tough, obviously, right? And that just sent me down, perfect excuse to go down. So the song called Release is about the lead singer, Eddie Vedder, losing his dad.
Wow.
And so there's this weird, like, whole backstory and connection. Yeah. So I'm like, let me check it out. Zach's really cool. Like, these dudes are cool. Like, let me at least see. I walked in the door and I never left.
Yeah.
Like, the things that were going on there and the culture they built, the staff, the program, I had never seen anything like it. And mind you, I'd been traveling the country for the last 5 years before that, in and out of, for work, advocating, checking out treatment places, different community things. So, like, I'm like, this is something, they got something special here. Mm-hmm. And that was it. I mean, the rest is history.
Yeah.
It's like the best thing that ever happened to me in terms of, like, it really changed my just like my professional and personal life. Yeah.
That really makes me think, like, everything happens for a reason, and I believe that you do have to go out and make things happen, but just those small things, like it being named after a song that really resonates with you and your experience, like, that is everything really is connected.
I mean, come on, like, you can't make that up. Like,
yeah.
I'm like if I didn't, I don't know, I'm just a big believer in, like you said, there's a reason everything happens. I think nothing's by mistake. Mm-hmm. I might not understand it right now and I might not like it, but there's a reason this is going on right now, whatever, good or bad, yeah. And so you can't deny something. So it's like these little things, and you just put yourself out there and you meet people and then you show up and then you go through struggle and then you come back up. And I mean, talk about timing too. At this time, I just got off the road with this musician. Didn't really know what I was going to do, kind of just lived my life moment to moment. Life was great. That's the one thing when I came in recovery that they said, like, just for today, or stay in the moment or stay present or whatever. That was like the one thing that I'm blessed with, is that I have no problem doing that. Yeah. I'm not a planner. Mm-hmm. So it's good, and, it's a gift and a curse. So I was kind of just chilling, I was doing my recovery thing. I was going to concerts. I was working a little bit, like having fun. So I'm like, all right, I'll find another gig. I was doing a lot of freelance. And that's when, like, literally the call came. Like, I was like, hey, why don't you come by and see what's going on, see if we can, work together. Mm-hmm. And that was it, So it's been a wild, beautiful ride. I could sit there for hours and tell you about, my journey at release. Yeah. One of them being the marathon. Like,
yeah. I saw one thing where you got Employee of the Year too. That was a really cool video.
That was fun. I had no idea either. And, I just worked really hard, and we had our first big, like, Christmas, like, holiday party. Mm-hmm. And it was a really cool spot in the city. And yeah, like, they started introducing some awards, and they got me this, like, huge Stanley Cup thing. So cool. And, yeah. And some other thing, some nice, like, a bonus, and it was just cool. Mm-hmm. But just to be recognized for things where, like, me 9 years ago, almost 9 years ago, I mean, I wasn't unemployable. I was alone. I wouldn't be here. Like, I wouldn't be able to talk. I was like a mute. It was weird. Like, I get very recluse when I'm drinking. Mm-hmm. And I just isolate. Mm-hmm. So, like, I wasn't doing anything. And again, I was at the brink of death. Like, usually the end of my runs, I'm alone and I want to die. Mm-hmm. So from going to that to, getting employee of the year where I could never hold a job and all that. And like, it felt really good.
Yeah. That's a gift of sobriety right there.
Yeah, it was really, I was just like, this is crazy, like me. But yeah, just keep showing up and just trying to do the next right thing and try to help others.
That's amazing. What about, you briefly mentioned the impact it has on you, but I mean, you get into some pretty crazy scenarios for work and have to really see the darkness in your face all of the time and go into some gnarly situations. How do you stay mentally healthy through that, and really what impact does that have on your mental health and your recovery?
I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. I know we were talking about it a little bit, like, I just got off a really gnarly job. Some of the jobs, some of this work can be really, exhausting, right? And so we always really try to take care of each other, at work. And that's one of the things about it. It's a loving environment where you got your, I have my bros and people have your back, and you check in on each other, So that's one thing during it. Like, I'll call other people, I'll call my friends, I'll call my family, I'll call my guys at work, just to check in, or just to say, hey man, I'm struggling, like this dude's a lot, or what's going on, or this is a really hard case. So the support is always there, which is great about this place. I never feel like I'm alone.
Yeah.
And then also, it's really, really important to, when you have time off or when you're done with a certain, case, is to really take time to yourself. Whether it's like, I love the beach, I love concerts. You could always find me at a concert. So it's usually either work or concerts, or just eating, like, which I gotta chill out on. But I like to go out with friends and enjoy nice meals and just laugh, and just do this, just vibe and connect. I try to spend time with my family, go to the movies, do some self-care. I'm a big fan of pedicures.
I love that.
All right, I might get some flack for that, but that's been one of my things for years. I love just chilling.
It's
just
so
like,
nice.
It's the best.
It's self-care. And
it's like, come on.
Yeah, a little 10-minute leg massage too.
Maybe you throw on a couple, maybe a 15.
Throw it on.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's hard sometimes, but like, you have to force yourself to unplug. And really, the phone. The phone can be a lot. And I know it comes up a lot on your show.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, you got to unplug. The world's going to be okay without you. Work's going to be okay without you for a little bit, or whatever, right? Friends, family. Like, if there's an emergency, they're going to get to you. But you really learned how to separate and just kind of unplug for a little bit and recharge.
Yeah.
Because without that, I'm not able to really be of any use to these people anyway.
Exactly. You have to put the mask on yourself before you can put it on others.
Matt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. So.
What was really your most rewarding case? It sounds like you deal with a lot of really hard ones. Is there one that stands out for you that you're like, this is what makes it all worth it?
Wow. Well, so most of the people, we work with end up like they are all rewarding in some way. I would say I was working with a guy, young man, and I can't really get into too many specifics because of confidentiality and protected privacy. But he was I think he was like 19, and he wasn't from around here, so we had to travel, and he was bad. He was really, really on his last leg, and did not want treatment. Had been to treatment before, and just really wanted nothing to do with us. And unfortunately, releases, we don't. That's the one thing. Like, if we get called, we don't just like come by and talk and then leave. It's hard to get rid of us.
Yeah.
Right? Because we just I don't know. I just hang in there, and we're just a bro. I'm just broing out, right? So, but I understand. Like, the real fact of the matter is, like, I really understand what it's like to be that kid, and the pain, and so I'll just stay there. I'll just keep trying, and it looks different, right? Like, a lot of times it's just a hang. Sometimes maybe it's just to open a conversation. I don't come in there swinging, like, trying, you got to do, like, because I know that didn't work for me. So a lot of times it's just kind of be, getting friendly with someone, building trust, relating to them, telling them like I'm gonna hug. Like my biggest thing is like giving hugs, and like in a point where like people, you could just tell when someone needs a hug, and cracking a joke maybe, or just keeping it light. I always tell people just try to keep it light, because that person's going through so much at that moment that the last thing they want to hear is like how bad they're doing, or whatever. But yeah, we ended up getting this guy after it took about a week of interventions.
Wow.
And him basically telling us to screw off. And we just don't give up. And it was that to like almost not a year-long journey, but like a 9-month journey of me and this guy, this young guy. And going through it with him, holding his hand and just being there shoulder to shoulder, and he celebrated a year like 2 months ago.
Wow.
And, it's like, that's like one of the stories, like you're saying, like those gifts of just like, that's why I do this. Like getting a call or calling that person and wishing them a happy anniversary, or that's never had a year, that never could even really probably, I think he couldn't stay sober for more than like a couple months after that before, over and over again. So, and the family, really a lot of the work we do is with families, and so having the family be just happy and at ease and just not worried if their son's gonna live or die tonight, or just kind of reuniting the family in that, and just everyone being happy, and it's the best.
Yeah.
So you remember those, like those are the ones that kind of get you through when you have a really, really tough case and you feel like you're just not getting anywhere.
The ones that, I mean, I've even experienced, and I don't do this kind of work, but sometimes people come to me, they ask for help, they start a little bit, and then they fall off. And certain people, it's back on, off, and certain people just asked for help and then don't get it. And how do you deal with that feeling of wanting to help them and knowing like they're not ready, or they're just not getting it right now? Do you ever really give up, or what do you do in those situations?
That sucks.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you asked the best questions, because like that's kind of the stuff I go through, and that really sucks. And I don't know if that'll never not suck.
Yeah.
But when I was like kind of early on this time, not working, but just in my recovery program, and I had a really good, and that's the other sad thing about this whole thing, is that we lose a lot of people, right? We lose too many people, and so when I first came into sobriety, the older, we should call them the old timers. I don't know if they still say that. I'm probably an old timer now, but they would tell you all these things, and none of it really made sense to me. One of them would, they'd say like, buy a black suit. You're going to be going to a lot of funerals, like depressing.
Oh my God.
I'm like, that's dark.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, thanks, man. Have a good day. Like,
Yeah.
what's this guy? But a lot of that stuff.
9 a.m.
Yeah, like, what about the that's just positivity.
Yeah.
But it was true. Like, so I would get like 2 years and then relapse. I would get, and then go on a run. I would get 3 years and then go on a run. So I was never really around long enough to see all these things that the people were talking about, but being around now for a little bit, unfortunately, like they were right. So I've been to way too many funerals and lost way too many close friends from sobriety, from recovery.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, I had a really hard time with that. I would get close with people, and I'm like, this is kind of messed up. Like they're saying, you're supposed to get really close with all these people really fast, and then you lose them. And I struggled with that, like internally. And so I started to see like, damn, this is what like families go through. This is what I was doing to others. And it kind of just, it made me think a little bit. And so it's gotten a lot better. Obviously like the way I deal with it now in terms of whether it's personally or work, I kind of process it better, and I understand like this is kind of the nature of the beast. But it doesn't ever make it like really better, like it doesn't, it still sucks.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think like the person or the individual I'm working with has to have just a little bit of that willingness, because if not, like if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we don't give up on people.
Yeah.
That's one thing I don't, you might want to give them some space, or, hey, call me when you're ready, or we'll re-engage, and, whatever happens. But yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, it's definitely really hard, especially when you know the person and you love them or you've known them your whole life, like to watch them go down that path. But then I think, okay, this is what people dealt with when I was there.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that nobody gave up on me and
same.
continued to give me chances. So you just have to have that, but it's hard when you're in recovery because you just want to get through to them so badly, but sometimes you can't
Oh, you want
right now,
Yeah,
but
no,
their time might be coming,
yeah, you want them to get it so bad. Like you want to like shake them and like show them like, dude, like if I could show you a video of what your life is going to look like in like 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, 10 years, like,
Yeah.
but it's the same. Like you said, like what we went through, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Like we didn't know until you have to like go through it. But that's why you gotta have to like to have that little bit of like blind faith, or whatever it is, just to, because the miracles, all those things happen.
Yeah.
They are true. Because I wouldn't be here, right, if there wasn't. So
That's what I never would have thought I would be where I am today. Like in a million years, if you showed me that 5-year video, I'd be like, no way,
yeah,
no way. But then people that see me now, like, don't realize how dark and bad it was for me. So they might think, okay, like you didn't really go through it, or like you don't realize just seeing somebody in recovery where they were before and how far they've come, really. So you wish you can just tell them that, like have just a video for them to show start to finish. But that's amazing work that you guys do, that you go out there and continue to do that day in and day out and go through, because I know, like how I said, I don't even work in it and I deal with it in small increments, and it's a lot emotionally. So to do that as your actual occupation is phenomenal, that you're willing to have 7 guys not get it to have that one guy that does.
yeah. I mean, if I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't be doing it. So I know it works. And you said it yourself. Like I'm a product of people not giving up on me
Yeah.
over and over again. So I know what it's like, and I think that's what helps me a lot, honestly, when helping people. Is I was in and out for years, and I kind of seen everything you could really do in terms of like the lowest, right? So people just kept welcoming me back, and I was like, what's going on here? So it's like, that's kind of like my motto, is like, I'm gonna try to believe in you, right? Let me believe in you as much as I can until you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's still going on. Like even as I grow and as I get older and try to experience new things and challenge myself, I try to surround myself with people that are constantly believing in me and challenging me to do uncomfortable things. And likewise, hopefully I try to challenge others.
Yeah.
Because that's all it really is. I think a lot of things in life are just believing in others, believing in yourself until you can actually do that thing. You
have to get uncomfortable in order to be comfortable doing that, and then just continue to work your ways up the rungs.
Exactly.
What was really the hardest part for you in getting it, or getting to where you are today?
I think the hardest part was, wow, I gotta think about that. Hold on. Never been asked that. I think just, maintaining, like getting sober is one thing, but staying sober, I think, is another thing. So for me, I would do really well. I would do treatment really well. I'd do everything really well. I would build up a great life pretty fast. And then it's that complacency. So learning to learning to hang on.
Yeah.
That would be like the biggest thing for me. Because I'll be honest with you, right? Like there's been times in my recovery that I didn't want to live sober. Like I struggled with some mental health stuff sober, where I'm like, this is like, what's going on? Like, why do I feel like this? And so part of it's like, all right, wait a minute. Nobody feels good all day, every day.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Like that was part of why I loved getting blasted. So that's one. Number two, always, always, always reach out and ask for help. So once I think I learned that, like, it's not always going to be like rainbows and Skittles or whatever, right? Like, Twizzlers, right? And all that.
Yeah.
And to kind of hang on and to talk about it and to just do whatever the F it takes, really, to get through this day or this week or this month, this period that's rough, that you're going to get to the other side. So, in the beginning, I didn't like that, so I would just bail. I knew I would go do what I knew best, right, and get high. But as I learned, like, everything's going to be okay, period. Like, that's it. It's going to be okay. But if I, react and run and then it's not.
Yeah.
So I was known for that. I was known for just running. When stuff got bad, I would just run. And then it would be way worse. So I think that's one of the things I learned after beating my head into a wall a million times. And, again, coming with age, is just to just be able to sit in some shit and knowing that it's going to be okay. And that, again, I'm never alone. We're never alone. And it's, it's not forever. But I don't know if that made any sense. But
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
like, just from the gut, like, that's where I'm at, today.
No, I struggled with that too, where in sobriety, you feel worse and you're thinking, like, am I supposed to be feeling like this? All these people are saying sobriety is so great and it's supposed to fix everything, but it is really hard to get through, for sure. Is there anything in particular that you are most proud of yourself today?
I think of just, like, the man I've become, like, just being who I am and knowing who I am. And, if you're not, like, not trying to be like who you want me to be, like, obviously I still struggle with insecurities. I still struggle with all that kind of stuff, like, when it pops up, right? And, I struggle with, this stuff doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
That you work on stuff and then stuff will pop up and new things pop up. But overall, I'm in a comfortable place. I'm happy. I have a full life. I don't really want for anything. It's pretty, to me, it's like kind of a simple life. Like I work hard and I play hard and then I was in it. I go more, like, but I don't do it with drugs and alcohol. I don't have to, I don't go to jail, because I did a little thing, that's not fun. My family's happy. My family's safe and they know where I'm, like, they don't have to worry about me, and that was, like, the biggest thing my whole life is, like, my family always had to worry about me. My friends, same thing, they don't have to worry about me. So just kind of just the peace, really just the peace I'm proud of the most. I've been fortunate to do some really cool stuff and traveled and worked with some really cool people. And I can't make it up. Like, some of the stuff I've been able to do in sobriety, especially this last, 9 years, has been like I still can't believe it. But yeah, it's really just that and just meeting people. I will always have this quest to meet people and to know your story, or to share like this, like to share. So I don't know. I don't really have an answer. It's just,
Yeah.
I'm just happy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a simple life now. It's just like, have fun, do what you want. Don't do the things you don't want to do, right? It's like, I know what I like and I know what I don't like.
Yeah.
That's it. Just keep it simple.
That's what I love about recovery too, is that it's a continuous journey. It's not you're sick, then you're better. It's a continuous journey. So you're always learning something new, meeting someone new, and it just continues to get better and better. And there are hard days within it, but overall, with time, it just continues to go up.
Yeah, that's it. And it's always like, you learn, and you grow, and then you go backwards a little, and then you go forward. And
Yeah.
But you get to do it and share it with people, and like, I don't know, it's a good life.
Yeah. And I believe truly too, when you go backwards or you fail per se, that you're just learning something new. And there are people that are afraid to fail are never going to move to that next level, because in order to get there you have to fail a couple times, or you can stay where you're at comfortably, or you can fail forward and just keep moving in the right direction.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, no, you gotta take these risks.
Yeah.
I didn't, if I didn't take any risks in life, I wouldn't, there would be no reward, right?
Exactly.
So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Is there any last parting words that you want to tell somebody out there that's struggling?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, just again, you're never alone. Recovery is possible. It's a beautiful, beautiful life, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And yeah, if you're struggling, if you're out there, if you've been where I've been, or I've been where you've been, and you feel like there's no way out, I'm going to tell you it's different. There's a way out, and I'm always available. I'll put my info in the chat, or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, have fun and keep going.
Well, thank you for coming on and getting real.
Thank you. Wow.
Thanks for tuning in and getting real with us. Podcast will be posted every other Wednesday on Spotify and YouTube. Please reach out via DM if you want to chat.